So, in conference reports video about evolution of consciousness, I made a comment about cognitive development and and how that it seems perfectly sensible to me that cognitive development would go on into adulthood. Uh, where it's fairly well established that cognitive development occurs in children, but not and then some theorists have just extended that into adulthood, like Eric Erikson, Abraham Maslow, Claire Graves, Ken Wilber. Um, and so, and he seems to protest that the cognitive development in children is sort of a different world entirely than the idea of cognitive development in adults. That is, the brain is still forming in the child. I mean, that's true, but I think, how the brain forms. I don't think it's just a matter of the physical cells growing. It's actually the child's physical inaction of the environment. So I realized that it was deeply related to enactivism. That what Varela and Maturana or Varela and Thompson were talking about. The idea that the child develops its ego by exploring around the exploring around its environment and realizing, sort of, oh, when I move this, okay, well, I can move this arm, but I can't move that clock on the wall. Maybe I guess this arm is part of me, and that clock isn't. Okay, so so it develops a body schema, and from that body schema, it develops learn to develop a sense of self, and that leads to the development of ego. And so I think that's perfectly. Uh, I think we can follow that line of thought through all the major through many major cognitive stages that children go through. Um, but but I think is interesting about the enactivist paradigm, and actually in psychology spirituality, Ken Wilber has in the endnotes, he offers his critique of the enactivist paradigm, while saying that he agrees to a large extent with Varela, where what he points out the partialness of it, because it says that Varela and Thompson are talking about are originally talking about physical inaction, inaction of the I-it relationship, which is saying to leave out the lower left quadrant, the what Martin Buber called the I-thou relationship. The idea that we enact a social environment just as we enact a physical environment, and so I think that's where a lot of the real action is in terms of cognitive development. And it's interesting. When Conference Report responded to me, he said, when I would sort of challenge him to think back between when he was 20 and tell me he hadn't developed cognitively since then. I think he said, "Well, I have, but I've been in different social environments." Well, yeah, that's the thing. You go to like you have like different social environments, and the social environment in which that you enact will determine your level of cognitive development. I mean, uh, in a sense, I think it's difficult to reach the sort of rational world-centric stage if everyone around you is at the mythic ethnocentric stage. And sometimes people can and so I think in a sense people have to co-evolve at certain levels, and you have to have that influence kind of helping to pull you up towards that level in order to be able to achieve such higher stages. Because and that's why I think in terms of evolution of consciousness, the individual can't develop that many stages ahead of where their culture is at. Um, I mean, Socrates was that rational world centric in a society that was like at mythic absolutist ethnocentric, and yeah, so he was at the leading edge of consciousness at the time, and they killed him for that. Um, you know, and I think you could say the same thing about Jesus. Um, so, and I guess that's a part of the whole blue amber mythic meme is the absolutist idea, the man absolute conformity, and such conformity is good when you're in going through cognitive development, and it gets you out of the whole impulsive egocentric stage and realize, okay, there's actually like rules I have to follow, and it's not all about me, it's about the group. And that and then through that group consciousness you enact a world centric from the group consciousness you enact a world centric consciousness. And then um and then through but then reason becomes its own kind of limitation, and you explore further and arrive at this kind of as green level of oh, we shouldn't judge, and everyone's got their valid ideas, which is the partial truth. The truth is plural in a sense, and I think from there you realize that you get to second tier, and it can and this consciousness becomes temporalized, and you realize um, the sort of development of that uh, of truth over time, and you realize um, the partialness of truths, and the sort of evolutionary character of them. So I think that's what second tier does, is it introduces the time element into uh, yeah, into the works, which I think it's interesting. That was talking about Jean Gebser and the idea of the immersion of time, and so yeah, I think that's kind of what second tier is actually about, is that time comes into play, and you realize the sort of evolutionary nature of truth and of consciousness, and of morality. Um, and I guess I'll leave it there. Peace.